namely Buddha Dhamma. We have received the compassion of the Buddha. Yes, we are so very lucky. So it is a must that we make the best use of the gift. Let us use all our energy and effort and strength to lead us of the happiness of liberation, so that we can say goodbye to dukkha ever. In Asuttawa Sutta, when this exists, that comes to be. With the arising of this, that arises. When this does not exist, that does not come to be. With the cessation of this, that ceases. It goes without saying that we must bring out the factors which are the causes for the attainment of self-conquest. Let us do our best, our very best, nothing but our very, very, very best to work for the end of dukkha, just like our great teacher, the Buddha. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. It is indeed a wonderful gift. And since the first discourse was delivered, we all have been following. Many of the past, everybody has been following that. And we have come to reach to this stage, passing on. And we should continue this for the future generation. That is why by holding these webinars and such occasions with such topics, it reviews, revives. Many newcomers, many new listeners come into this fold and appreciate the Buddha's first discourse. Our next speaker, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Ramesh Prasad, the Dean, Faculty of Shramana Vidya Sampurnananda Sanskrit University, Varanasi.
Thank you, sir. Most venerable monks and nuns, and other distinguished scholars and participants. First of all, I would like to recite Tiratana Vandana. Yo kap katoi piyapamayang kalang karunto ati dukkarani khedangato lokitaya natho namo mahakarunika satassa asambuddhang buddhanisevitang yang bhava bhavang gacchati jiva loko namo avidyadi kilesa jala vidvansino dhammavadasatassa gune hi yo sila samadhi panya vimuttiyan pabhuti yitto ketang jananang kusalattikanang tamaryang sangang tirsa namami. मैं अपना वक्तव्य हिंदी में दूंगा। अभी कीनोट एड्रेस में मैडम ने बहुत ही अच्छे ढंग से धम्म चक्र प्रवर्तन सुत को बतलाया, तो मैं अच्छा लामा जी ये बताएं कि हमें आप कितने मिनट देंगे, उसी समय के अनुसार मैं बोलूंगा।
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. भगवान को बोध गया में ज्ञान मिलता है। ज्ञान मिलने के तत्क्षण बाद उनके मन में चिंतन मनन होता है, वो प्रतीत समुत्पाद का होता है, अनुलोम होता है, प्रतिलोम होता है। क्योंकि हमारे पास समय नहीं है, विस्तार नहीं करूंगा। अनुलोम और प्रतिलोम चिंतन मनन के बाद उनके मुख से प्रथम उदान निकलता है। प्रथम उदान का अर्थ हुआ भगवान बुद्ध के मुख से जो प्रथम शब्द निकले उसे हम उदान कहते हैं। उदान और प्रथम उपदेश दोनों में अंतर है। जब भगवान बुद्ध के उदान निकले तो अगल बगल कोई नहीं था। बोधि वृक्ष के नीचे हर शास्त्रीय में उनके मुख से उदान निकलते हैं। अब बाद में वे लोगों को बतलाते हैं कि हमें जो है ये उदान निकला था। तो प्रथम उदान देखते हैं, वह उदान है। यदा हवे पातु भवन्ति धम्मा आतापिनो जायतो ब्राह्मणस्य अतस्य कंखा वपयन्ति सब्बा यतो पजानाति सहेतु धम्म। यदा हवे पातु भवन्ति धम्मा, जब धम्म का प्रादुर्भाव होता है, धम्म चक्पवत्तन में पहला शब्द धम्म है, तो धम्म का जब प्रादुर्भाव होता है, किसको होता है? सभी को नहीं हो सकता है। आतापिनो, जो तपस्वी है, झायतो, जो ध्यानी है, ब्राह्मणस। प्रथम में ही उन भगवान बुद्ध ने कह दिया कि ब्राह्मण कौन? जो तपस्वी है, जो ध्यानी है, जो त्यागी है, वही ब्राह्मण है। और जो ब्राह्मण है, जो तप और त्याग से और ध्यान से जिन्होंने धर्म को प्राप्त कर लिया, जिनके अंदर धर्म का प्रादुर्भाव हो गया, कार्य कारण संबंध है। जब धर्म का प्रादुर्भाव हो गया तो उसके कुछ न कुछ परिणाम भी आएंगे। अथस कंखा बपियंति सब्बा, तब उसकी सारी शंकाएं नष्ट हो जाती है, सारे इपबट समाप्त हो जाते हैं, सारे डाउट्स नष्ट हो जाते हैं। अथस कंखा बपियंति सब्बा, यह तो क्यों नष्ट हो जाते हैं? इसका भी कारण है, कार्य कारण संबंध। यह तो पजानाति, न केवलं जानाति, पजानाति, पजाने विशेष रूप से जान जाता है, अंतर्बोध हो जाता है। जानाति माने जान लेता है, पजानाति माने उसको अंतर्बोध हो जाता है, वो अंदर से जान लेता है। क्यों, क्या जान जाता है? सहेतु धम्मंगति, जितने भी धम्म है वह सहेतुक है, अहेतुक नहीं है। हर का कोई ना कोई कारण है। अगर कोई दुखी है उसका भी कोई कारण है, अगर कोई सुखी है उसका भी कोई ना कोई कारण है। यह सहेतु धम्म, यह भगवान बुद्ध के मुख से यह प्रथम उदान निकला। उसके बाद भगवान सारनाथ में आकर पंचवर्गीय भिक्षुओं को उपदेश देते हैं, और उस उपदेश को ही धम्म चक्र प्रवर्तन कहा गया। धम्म का चक्र उन्होंने घुमाया, धम्म का प्रादुर्भाव बुद्ध में हुआ। अब यह धम्म का प्रादुर्भाव और लोगों में भी जगे, धम्म और लोगों में भी जगे, और लोगों का भी कल्याण हो और लोगों का भी मंगल हो, इस भाव से उन्होंने उपदेश देना आरंभ किया। तो प्रथम जो उन्होंने सारनाथ में उपदेश दिया वह पंचवर्गीय भिक्षुओं को दिया। अब एक पंचवर्गीय भिक्षु उपदेश को सुने। उन्होंने क्या दिया? मैडम ने बताया कि पहला उन्होंने दो अंतों को निराकरण करने की बात की। अत्यधिक जो है काय कलेश में मत लगो, और अत्यधिक काम सुख में भी न लगो। एक एग्जाम्पल से थोड़ा सा मैं समय के अंदर ही मैं समाप्त करूंगा। जैसे आंख है, आंख का काम है देखना। हम देखते हैं तो जहां देखते हैं वही राग पैदा करते हैं, वही द्वेष पैदा करते हैं। अच्छा लगा तो राग पैदा कर लिए, बुरा लगा तो द्वेष पैदा कर लिए। तो ये जो काम सुखल का इसी को कहते हैं। आपका उस पर नियंत्रण नहीं है, आपका संयम नहीं है। जहां ले जा रहा है वहां जा रहे हैं, कभी राग की ओर जा रहे हैं, कभी द्वेष की ओर जा रहे हैं। हम अंधे हैं और अंधकार में भटक रहे हैं। एक पहला हुआ अंत। और दूसरा जो अंत है अतकिल मथान योग, यानी अत्यधिक काय क्लेश में लगा रहना। यानी उस समय ज्ञान प्राप्ति का साथ बुद्ध ने भी उस चीज को अपनाया था। उपवास पर थे लेकिन उनका फल क्या मिला? उपवास पर रहते रहने के उनको फिट आ जाता है, मूर्छा आ जाती है, और किसी तरह से वो फिर उनको वो पुनर्जीवन मिलता है और सुजाता के खीर खाते हैं। तो ये पहला जो था कि काम सुखल का योग, और दूसरा है अतकिल मथा, यानी अत्यधिक काय क्लेश देकर ज्ञान की प्राप्ति। बुद्ध ने कहा ये दोनों बेकार है, अनर्यो है, अनत सनितो है, इसमें कोई सार्थकता नहीं है, इससे तुमको कुछ मिलने वाला नहीं है। दुख है, दुख में ही रहोगे, केवल यूं ही करते रहोगे, कुछ उससे कुछ मिलने वाला नहीं है। तब उन्होंने कहा तो क्या करना चाहिए? तो उन्हें बताया कि मध्यम मार्ग में जाना चाहिए। ये प्रथम पाठ। फिर आगे वे बतलाते हैं 4 आर्य सत्य को देशना देते हैं। तो 4 आर्य सत्य दुख है, तो दुख का भी उन्होंने डिवीजन किया कि जब व्यक्ति जन्म लेता है वहीं से दुख आरंभ हो जाता है। कोई भी बच्चा हंसता हुआ जन्म नहीं लेता है, रोता हुआ ही जन्म लेता है। वो भी कारण है, सकारण अकारण कोई चीज नहीं है। क्योंकि जब माँ के गर्भ में रहता है उसकी स्थिति अलग रहती है, और जब माँ के गर्भ से बाहर आता है उसका एनवायरमेंट अलग रहता है, एडजस्ट करने में उसको परेशानी होती है, इसलिए बच्चा रोता है। कबीरदास ने कहा है ना, कबीरा जब पैदा लिया जग हंसा हम रोए, ऐसी करनी कर चलो हम हंसे जग रोए। कबीर जब पैदा लिए तो पूरा संसार हंसा, लेकिन कबीर ने रोया। अगला पंक्ति बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, कहते हैं कि ऐसी करनी कर चलो, बुद्ध का कर्मवाद, ऐसी करनी कर चलो हम हंसे जग रोए। जब प्राण निकलता है तो आसानी से नहीं निकलता है। हमने जो राग पाल रखा है अपने अंदर, हमने जो द्वेष पाल रखा है अपने अंदर, तो ये राग और द्वेष मरने के क्षण में छूटता नहीं है, प्राण बड़ी मुश्किल से निकलता है। तो बुद्ध अनासक्त बनने के प्रेरणा देते हैं, द्वेष रहित होने की प्रेरणा देते हैं, मोह रहित होने की प्रेरणा देते हैं, राग रहित होने की प्रेरणा देते हैं। अगर वो राग नहीं रहेगा, द्वेष नहीं रहेगा, तो हमारा जो प्राण भी निकलेगा तो हंसते हुए ही निकलेगा। तो ही कहते हैं ऐसी करनी कर चलो हम हंसे जग रोए। अब बुद्ध ने जो बताया कि जाति पे दुखा जन्म दुख है, जन्म लेगा तो वो बुढ़ा होगा, जड़ा पे दुखा, और बुढ़ापा हो गया, फिर मरणं पे दुखं, मृत्यु होगी तभी दुख होगा, क्योंकि राग द्वेष से हम मुक्त नहीं हो पाए हैं। और जीवन मृत्यु के बीच में व्याधि भी आएगा, व्याधि भी दुख हो, रोग आएंगे तो वह भी हमें कष्ट देगा। ये 4 नैसर्गिक दुख है, इन दुखों से हम बच नहीं सकते, जन्म लिए हैं तो ये होगा। अब कहते हैं कि हम प्रिय और अप्रिय बनाते हैं, बहुत सारी इच्छाएं करते हैं, जिसको प्रिय बनाते हैं अगर वह हमसे बिछुड़ जाता है तब दुख है, और जब अप्रिय बनाते हैं अगर उससे हमारा मिलन हो जाता है तब दुख। प्रिय और अप्रिय हमने बनाया, जो हमें अच्छा लगा उसे प्रिय बना लिए, जो हमें बुरा लगा उसे अप्रिय बना लिए। एक व्यक्ति वही होता है, कभी किसी के लिए प्रिय हो जाता है और कभी अप्रिय हो जाता है। कोई शब्द बोलता है हम तुरंत प्रतिक्रिया करते हैं, प्रशंसा करता है तो राग पैदा कर लेते हैं, और कोई निंदा करता है भले ही वो सत्य बात बता रहा हो तो हम उससे घृणा द्वेष करते हैं। भगवान बुद्ध के पास आता है एक बार, बहुत गालियां देता है, लेकिन भगवान नाराज नहीं होते हैं। वो उनसे पूछते हैं कि बताओ कहीं तुम जाते हो तो कुछ लेकर तो जाते होगे। तो वह ब्राह्मण कहता है हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल लेकर जाते हैं। तो बुद्ध कहते हैं तो अगर वो स्वीकार नहीं करता है तो वो क्या करते? फिर बस 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 उसको मैं वापस ले लेता। भगवान कहते बस बस जो तुमने मुझे परोसा, जो तुमने मुझे दिया, उसे मैंने स्वीकार नहीं किया। बुद्ध के लिए वे शब्द शब्द मात्र थे, हम उस शब्द में राग पैदा कर लेते हैं, प्रिय बनाते हैं और अप्रिय बना लेते हैं, इसलिए राग पैदा हो जाता है, द्वेष पैदा हो जाता है। तो यही तृष्णा है। तो इसी तृष्णा को दुख का कारण बना भगवान बुद्ध ने बताया। अब कई प्रकार की इच्छाएं भी करते हैं, वो इच्छा की पूर्ति नहीं होती है तभी दुख होता है। ये हमारे द्वारा क्रिएटेड है, यह नैसर्गिक नहीं है। तो ये जो तृष्णाएं हैं, तो बुद्ध कहते हैं इन तृष्णाओं को जब तक हम नहीं हटाएंगे हमारा दुख का अंत नहीं होगा। और जितनी मात्रा में हटाएंगे, प्रोपोर्शनेट है, उतनी मात्रा में तुम्हारा दुख भी कम होता जाएगा। अब पूरा जब हटा देंगे तो पूरा दुख कम हो जाएगा। सहस्रं पी पियं दुखं पी सहस्रं, 1000 प्रिय है तो दुख भी 1000 है। शतं पी पियं दुखं पी शतं, 100 प्रिय बना रखा है, 100 तृष्णाएं पाल रखी है तो दुख भी 100 है। एकं पियं दुखं पी एकमेव, स्नेह स्नेह कम करना, और अगर एक प्रिय बना रखा है तो दुख भी एक है। नत्थी पियं दुखं पी नत्थी, अगर हमारे पास प्रिय ही नहीं है तो दुख कैसा? तो दुख भी नहीं। इसी तृष्णा को हटाना है। स्नेह स्नेह हमने तो पाल रखा है, तो जब पाल रखा है तो धीरे धीरे वो स्नेह स्नेह कम होगा। और ये कम कैसे होगा? उसके लिए आज अष्टांगिक मार्ग को बतलाया। सम्यक दृष्टि, सम्यक संकल्प, सम्यक वचन, सम्यक कर्मान, सम्यक आजीविका, सम्यक व्यायाम, सम्यक स्मृति और सम्यक समाधि। समय नहीं है कि अष्टांगिक मार्ग की हम चर्चा करें, लेकिन अब देखें कि यही मध्यम मार्ग है। और इस तरह से भगवान बुद्ध ने प्रथम अपना उपदेश सारनाथ में पंचवर्गीय भिक्षुओं को दिया। अब तो दे दिया तो उसको ज्ञान मिल जाना चाहिए, लेकिन उन पंचवर्गीय भिक्षुओं को ज्ञान नहीं मिला। क्यों ज्ञान नहीं मिला? क्योंकि उसने केवल सुना, अंतर्बोध नहीं किया। भगवान को लगा इसको तो ज्ञान ही नहीं मिला है, अब तक वो समझा ही नहीं है। तब उसको फिर द्वादशाकारं परिवर्तन द्वादशाकारं, तीन तीन भागों में आर्षद को बतला करके 12 आकार बनाया। जैसे दुख है तो आगे गए कहें दुखं परिययं, इस दुख को जानना चाहिए, सुनना नहीं है। परिययं, उसको आत्मबोध करना चाहिए। और दुखं परियातं, दुख को जान लिया गया। अब वो दुख को जान लिया, अब वो दुख उसका अपना हो गया। पहले जो बोल रहा था केवल दूसरे का था, अब उसका दुख अपना हो गया, उस दुख का बोध हो गया। उसी तरह से दुख समुदयं को कहते हैं कि दुख समुदयं पहातब्बं अपहीनं, प्रहान करना चाहिए, दुख का प्रहान करना चाहिए। और दुख प्रहान कर लिया गया है, दुख पहिन, अब उसका अपना हो गया दुख समझे। दुख निरोधन सच्ची कातब्बं, साक्षात्कार दुख निरोधन थे, दुख निरोधोति निब्बानं, दुख निरोध जो है वही निर्वाण है, तो उसका साक्षात्कार करना चाहिए। असच्ची कतंग, साक्षात्कार कर लिया गया है। और दुख निरोध गामनी प्रतिपदा भावेतब्बं भावितं, भावना करनी चाहिए, उसका जीवन में पालन करना चाहिए, उसका अनुसरण करना चाहिए। भावितं, अनुसरण कर लिया। और जब परिवर्तन द्वादशाकारं भगवान बुद्ध ने बतलाया, तो उसमें भी पांचों भिक्षुओं को ज्ञान नहीं मिला, केवल एक भिक्षु को ज्ञान मिला, वह कौंडिन्य था। इसलिए नाम पर अयासी को नहीं बोले। भगवान बुद्ध ने कहा क्या कौंडिन्य ने जान लिया, कौंडिन्य ने जान लिया। क्या जाने? यं किंची समुदय धम्मं सब्बं तंग निरोध दम्बं, जो कुछ भी उत्पन्न होने वाला धर्म है वह सब निरोध होने वाला धर्म है। यानी सब चीज अनित्य है। यही चार आर्षद में अनित्यता का भी बोध करा दिया गया, दुखता का भी बोध करा दिया गया, अनात्मता का भी इसी में छुपा हुआ है। यानी त्रिलक्षण की भी बात धम्मचक्र में कर ली गई। अब उसके बाद फिर भगवान बुद्ध आगे बढ़ते हैं और फिर दो भिक्षुओं को कौंडिन्य के बाद वप और भद्दियों को ज्ञान प्राप्त होता है, और अंत में महानाम और अष्टजी को प्राप्त होता है। एक साथ पांचों भिक्षुओं को ज्ञान नहीं मिलता है, 3 स्टेज में मिलता है। पहले कौंडिन्य को मिलता है, दूसरे में वप और भद्दिय को मिलता है, और अंत में महानाम और अष्टजी को मिलता है। इस तरह से ज्ञान मिल गया, और ये धम्मचक्र है। और अंत में भगवान बुद्ध कहते हैं स्वाखातो धम्मो सुपलस आखातो, यानी ये जो धम्म मैंने बतलाया है वह आख्यात है, बहुत अच्छी तरह से बतलाया गया है। सम्मा चरद ब्रह्मचर्यं सम्मा दुखस अंत क्रियायाति, ब्रह्मचर्य का पालन करो। क्यों पालन करो? सम्मा दुखस अंत क्रियायाति, सम्यक रूप से दुख को अंत करने के लिए ब्रह्मचर्य का पालन करो। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ ये धम्मचक्र सूत्र समाप्त होता है। और जब ये स्वाखात धम्म को जब जीवन में आचरण कर लेते हैं तो सबका कल्याण होता है। पहले तो अपना कल्याण होता है, परिवार का कल्याण होता है, समाज का कल्याण होता है, राष्ट्र का कल्याण होता है, और जो भी संपर्क में आता है उन सबों का कल्याण होता है। हमारा 10 मिनट हो गया है। बहुत सब
साधु साधु साधु। I would now like to invite our guest of honor, Dr. Revanta Bikram Singh, the director of the Vivekananda Cultural Center, High Commission of India from Sri Lanka. Dr. Revanta Bikram Singh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
First of all, what a lovely lecture I had just now. Though it was in Hindi, but it was beautiful, and I was enlightened on many points by Professor Saab. Namo Buddhaya, most venerable Mahasangha, distinguished scholars, guests, participants, and dear students. Greetings from Swami Vivekananda Culture Center, the cultural arm of the High Commission of India, Colombo, Sri Lanka. Friends, as you all would be knowing, Sri Lanka is going through a very difficult time. And I request all of you to pray for Sri Lanka and its people. May this day be a blessed day for the people of Sri Lanka. Asad Purnima, also called as Asalapoya in Sri Lanka, takes place in the 8th lunar month, usually in the month of July. It is one of the greatest significance day out of all the Poya days, as it marks several important events in Lord Buddha's life. The conception of Prince Siddhartha in the womb of Mother Maya, birth of Prince Rahul, the son of Prince Siddhartha, renunciation of lay life by Princess Siddhartha, Lord Buddha's first sermon at the Deer Park in Sarnath, preaching of Abhidharma, and beginning of the Vasakal. All these sacred events are associated with Asalapoya or Asad Purnima. Another special sacred event which underlines the deep-rooted historical linkages between India and Sri Lanka also took place on this day. And this event was the arrival of the sacred tooth relic from Kaling, Odisha to Sri Lanka. It was brought by Princess Hemmala, the daughter of the king of Kaling, and her husband Prince Danta. They handed it over to the Sri Lankan king of Anuradhapura in early 4th century AD. Friends, India and Sri Lanka has had more than 2,500 years of deep-rooted historical, cultural, and spiritual ties. It is believed that Lord Buddha visited Sri Lanka 3 times. Emperor Ashoka also sent his son Arat Mahinda and his daughter Theri Sangamita to Sri Lanka, and as a result, the whole island embraced Buddhism. These close linkages continued right through the history, and in early 20th century, Srimad Anagarika Dhammapala helped revive Buddhism in India. After independence, many Indian scholars arrived in Sri Lanka and they embraced Buddhism and went on to become the great scholars of Dhamma and Pali literature. Bharat Ratna Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also visited Sri Lanka to understand the Dhamma and its practices in day-to-day life. And this visit played a very important role in Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's life when he embraced Buddhism with several lakhs of his followers. Buddhism is one of the core elements of the soul of India. And the same is reflected in our national flag, where the chakra represents the wheel of the Dhamma and also the progressive wheel of the nation. Similarly, Buddhism and its teachings have been guiding India's policymakers. It is rightly said that India believes in the Buddha and not the Yuddha. Government of India recently inaugurated the Kushinagar International Airport, and the first inaugural flight was from Sri Lanka to Kushinagar. India has also sanctioned a grant of $15 million to strengthen exclusively India-Sri Lanka Buddhist linkages. I'm happy that Buddhism is guiding all of us and is bringing all of us together on a common platform and is uniting all of us with the principles of Lord Buddha's message. This webinar is also such an attempt, and I am honored and privileged to attend the same with the presence of the most venerable Mahasangha and galaxy of distinguished scholars. Thank you all for inviting me and hearing me. With this, I rest my speech. May all be healthy, happy, and blessed. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
So much for highlighting the relationship of India and Sri Lanka and India. Visiting Sri Lanka indeed is an enlightenment, is a blessing for one and all. Now I would like to invite Dr. Mahendra Singh, our Vice President and Trustee of the Mahabodhi Society of India. Dr. Singh online?
I think he's not online.
He's not
Then I
placed.
Dr. Saurendra Kumar Mahapatra, Trustee, Mahabodhi Society of India from Bhubaneswar.
Yeah. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
At the outset, my profound prostration before Buddha, and with my highest reverence to the most venerable Pelvat Sioli Thero ji, General Secretary of Mahabodhi Society of India. As you all know, whose able spiritual guidance has culminated in enhancing the religious consciousness in Mahabodhi Society and all over, including this present international webinar. The most venerable Bhikkhu Sangha present here, including Bhikkhuni Santhini Mahatheri, who very beautifully enunciated the meaning of Dhamma in her keynote address. Our esteemed speakers of this webinar, our President, Mr. Nanja Dorji, the President of this webinar, Professor Dr. Baidyanath Labji, Vice Chancellor of Nalanda University, and our Trustee and Vice President, Dr. Mahendra Singh ji, our moderator, Mr. Kiran Lama ji, convener of this webinar, Professor Dr. Vimalendra Kumar ji, who has been convening these webinars all throughout, and all our esteemed participants. I'm sorry, I don't think within 10 minutes I'll be able to finish this. So I should get some time from Dr. Mahendra Singh's time to complete to speak about dependent origination. So to be honest and frank, I have read about dependent origination long back while I was going through it for appearing in an examination. But I have understood it mechanically. And I had failed to understand its true meaning then. Since Corona pandemic started, as you all of you know, the Dharma Sabha was being held every Sunday by Mahabodhi Society with the inspiration of Most Venerable P. Sioli Theroji and under the guidance of Dr. Mahendra Singh ji. Here only I could understand the real meaning of dependent origination and its effect in my life particularly, after it was subtly and lucidly explained by Dr. Mahendra Singh ji in his discourses on the subject. Hence, whatever I will speak will definitely reflect his views enunciated earlier. I may be excused for such plagiarism, or the plagiarism, I will say, because it's really worth repeating this million times. Dependent origination, it was written in Pali as Patikka Samuppada. It is the most cardinal philosophical and vital concept in Buddhism, upon which the entire edifice of Buddhist religion is established. It is the most subtle teaching of Buddha also. It's a mode marked by Patikka Samuppada, the simple condition of happening of a phenomenon, its various connotations on the basis of its sole invariable antecedent phenomenon. Generally speaking, the meaning of Patikka Samuppada is arising on the grounds of a preceding cause. It is the causal chain of causation. Scholars and writers have rendered this term in various ways, such as dependent origination, as you know, dependent arising, or conditions co-production, or causal genesis, or conditioned genesis. Though the most important aspect of this law of dependent origination is that it is without beginning or end. This is the most important. Very few people understand this. It describes the relationship between cause and effect in the most subtle manner. As we all know and understand that all existences are impermanent. It means becoming. All becoming is a subject to the law of causation. Law of causation is the production of an effect out of a complement of causes and conditions. When the causes and conditions disappear, the effect appears. The effect, cause, and effect emerges from the destruction of causes and conditions. Causes and conditions are, as you know, correlated. An effect cannot happen without any cause and conditions. The cause of an effect vanishes, then the effect emerges. The cause cannot exist in the effect, but the cause is always prior to the effect. The effect arises from an aggregate of causes and conditions. A seed is it's an example. A seed is the cause of a plant. The soil, water, light, etc., which promotes the growth of the plant are its conditions. However, only one cause cannot produce an effect. It is also related with other concomitant conditions to produce an effect. An effect arises from a cause and a complement of conditions. Another example, a coconut is the principal cause of a coconut tree. And that tree may again cause of many a coconut tree. The things of the world are neither due to one cause nor those are causeless. Things have many causes. Causation cause, dynamic. Causation is cause dynamic. It is dynamic, not static. A cause never perishes, but only changes as a jar is made of either clay or glass. In this case, the name clay is lost and the name jar arises. Combining all these, we get depending causes. This establishes that all things are born of dependent origination, which is the main theme of Buddha's teaching. Buddha attained enlightenment at the foot of the Bodhi tree at Bodh Gaya, as everybody knows this. And during the first watch of the night, he thought over the dependent origination thus: with the arising of this that arises, namely dependent on ignorance, volitional formation, dependent on formations, consciousness. In the middle watch of the night, he thought about the dependent origination. Thus, when this doesn't exist, that doesn't come to be. With the cessation of that ceases, namely with the utter cessation of ignorance. Let me repeat, utter cessation of ignorance, the cessation of volitional formations. In the last watch of the night, he realized the dependent origination thus. When this exists, that comes to be. With the arising of this, that arises. When this doesn't exist, that doesn't come to be. With the cessation of this, that ceases, namely dependent on ignorance, volition, formation. Thus, the whole mass of suffering arises. Here you can quite well understand how this suffering comes. By the cessation of volitional formation and so on. So this is the ending of this whole mass of suffering. He realized the root cause of all sufferings and sorrows, as rightly Professor Ramesh Kumarji was explaining in Hindi, which is comprised in his second noble truth. Analyzing the origin of suffering, Buddha pointed out that nidanas, causes, enter in man's consciousness and binds him fast to the gross world full of pain and sorrow. The nidanas, the causes, the nidanas which are held at the root of all sufferings are 12 in number. That's what told by Buddha, enunciated by him. First, ignorance, ajiva, impression, samkhara, consciousness, vinnana, mind and matter, nama rupa, 6 organs of sense, salayatana, contact, phasa, feelings, vedana, desire, tanna, attachment, upadana, existence, bhava, birth, jati, old age and death, jara marana. This birth, why it is called jati in Pali, I also failed to understand. I beg apology for that. Why? Because jati, as you know, it is related to caste system. In those days prevalent in our country. So why Bharth Jati, I failed to understand, but since it was enunciated by Buddha, I am telling that. So this is the wheel of life revolving day after day from birth to death and death to birth. The complete causal formula specifies that ignorance conditions impression, impression conditions consciousness, consciousness conditions mind and matter condition the 6 senses. The 6 senses condition contact, contact conditions feeling, feeling conditions craving or desire, desire conditions attachment, attachment conditions existence, existence conditions birth, birth conditions old age and death. So this is the cycle. So briefly speaking, the law of causation is thus, with ignorance such condition, there arise volitional formations. With formation such condition, consciousness, with consciousness as condition, mentality materiality, with mentality materiality as condition, the sixfold base, with the sixfold base as condition, contact, with contact as condition, feeling, with feeling as condition, craving, with craving as condition, clinging with clinging as condition, becoming with becoming as condition, birth with birth as condition. So all these are conditional. So there are aging and death and sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair. Thus there arises the whole mass of suffering. So this is all this cycle he has described very beautifully in dependent origination. And if you find it, if you'll go through it thoroughly, you'll find how scientific it was described. So let me now explain briefly the 12 nidanas constituting the dependent origination. I have told you earlier those 12 nidanas. Ajiva is the non-comprehension of the 4 noble truths, the past, the future, both the past and the future and dependent origination. Ajiva can be identified with delusion. Ajiva or ignorance or delusion is one of the root causes of all unwholesome actions, which is known as akusal karma. All the wrong deeds are the result of ignorance. Ignorance is enunciated as the first link of the chain of the 12-fold dependent origination, which can be illustrated by a circle. It is a cycle of existence. Each and every factor of dependent origination can be joined together with the next one in the series. They are all interdependent. That's why it is called dependent origination. Nothing is independent or isolated. It's an unbroken process. It gives rise to birth and death. Sankhara denotes action which are meritorious, such as offering of gifts and observance of moral precept, or sinful, such as killing and stealing, and neither meritorious nor sinful, such as beliefs in eternalism and annihilationism. The formation of merit consists of 13 volitions. These are the 8 sense, sphere, profitable volitions, and 5 material profitable volitions. The formation of demerit consists samkhara of 12 unprofitable volitions. The formation of imperturbable consists of the 4 profitable volitions associated with the immaterial sphere. These 3 kinds of deed may be either physical or verbal or mental. These bring about reactions. The physical or bodily formation is a bodily volition. The verbal formation is verbal volition, and the mental formation is mental volition. The physical formation occurs in the body door and produces bodily intimation. The verbal formation occurs in the speech door and produces verbal intimation. Volition of direct knowledge is not connected here in these two cases, but the 29 volitions are the mental formations. They arise in the mind door without originating any kind of intimation. These formations may be limited or unlimited, high or low, right or wrong, definite or indefinite. Due to lack of true knowledge, a person has the impression that it helps to bring about the happiness of the person. The functions of impression of previous life of a person helps to be born again. It depends on the deeds of past life of a person. Ignorance generates acts which leave impressions on the individual for determining his future existence. It also creates impressions on the inner organ. Rebirth in heaven is possible due to meritorious deeds, while non-meritorious deeds cause rebirth, and neutral deeds cause birth in the arupalokas. Ignorance is the cause of formation. The term samkhara has also another meaning. In the statement, all compounded things are impermanent. Samkhara applies to all compounded and conditioned things. That is, all things that comes into being as the effect of causes and conditions, which also act as causes and conditions for other effects. Consciousness, this is called Vinnana, means here Pratisandhi Vinnana, rebirth consciousness, and Prabriti Vinnana, a continuous flow of mental states. Pratisandhi Vinnana is of 19 kinds, while Prabriti Vinnana is of 32 Lokika Vipakas, resultants. The word consciousness is sixfold. That is eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness. This consciousness is compared to a stream of river which flows from one existence to another. Vinnana is a link between one existence to the another. It is also conditioned and therefore is not permanent. Consciousness comes into being and passes away, yielding place to new consciousness. Thus, the stream of consciousness goes on until existence ceases. Vinnana leads to Namarupa of the present life of a being. In the present life, it's not possible for a being to get rid of ignorance and impressions of past life. Name donates of non-material or mental constituents of a being, while Rupa is material only. All inanimate objects are included in the term Rupa. Nama, name is the aggregate of four mental states: feeling, perception, impression, and knowledge derived through sense organs. Rupa denotes the four elements: earth, water, fire, and air. It comprises all the material objects. These two Nama Rupa are the cause of six sense organs. By Nama is meant by three kandhas, namely feeling, perceptions, and impressions. Rupa is the collection of four great elements: earth, water, fire, and air, which I have told earlier, and six objects that I will add: form, sound, smell, taste, touch, objects of thought, and vitality. If there are no mentality materiality, no sixfold base could arise. Thus, mentality materiality and sixfold base are interrelated and interdependent. Vedana. Now I'll come to Vedana. Vedana also is one of the six kinds corresponding to the six sense organs. Vedana born of eye is Vedana associated with the eye consciousness. Vedana born of ear is Vedana associated with ear consciousness. Vedana born of nose is feeling associated with nose consciousness. Vedana born of tongue is Vedana associated with tongue consciousness. Vedana born of body is Vedana associated with body consciousness, and Vedana born of mind is Vedana associated with 32 Lokika Vipakas. Kindly let me repeat this. Vedana associated born of mind is Vedana associated with 32 Lokika Vipakas. Feeling may be pleasant. Vedana is painful and neutral. This feeling is the outcome of contact. Visual and other perceptions are related to feeling in 8 ways: as conscience, mutuality, support, result, nutriment, association, presence, and non-disappearance. But the mind contact is associated with mind door in the 10 way only as decisive support. We see that with the arising of contact, there arises feeling and it can never be stopped by any power or force. Never. Nobody can stop it. Seeing a form, hearing a sound, smelling an odor, tasting a flavor, touching some tangible thing, consigning a mental object, a person experiences feeling, but we cannot say that beings experience the same feeling with the same objects. Tana is born of Vedana. Tana is of 6 kinds and there are 6 corresponding sources. That is 6 doors of the sense organs: craving for form, craving for sound, craving for smell, craving for taste, craving for touch, and craving for mind object. Now we'll come to Jati, which I have told in the why birth is told Jati in Pali. Jati means birth. Birth, which is the appearance of the 5 aggregates of a being who is reborn. The living being is subject to the desire for re-existence and takes rebirth in future life. Jati is controlled by Kamma Bhava and not Utpatti Bhava. Rebirth is dependent on certain external circumstances, becoming the condition of birth. Here, birth means not the actual childbirth, but the appearance of the 5 aggregates, that is material form, feeling, perception, formations, and consciousness in the mother's womb. This process is conditioned by Kamma Bhava. The present birth is brought about by the craving and clinging Kamma volitions of the past births. The craving and clinging Kamma volitions of the present birth being about future rebirth. Dependent on birth arises aging and death. And now we'll come to Jaramarana. Jaramarana, Soka, Pariveda, Dukkha, Domanasa means old age, death, grief, lamentation, and Jaramarana sorrow. These are the causes of rebirth. These come through aging and death. Birth is followed by aging and death. Aging and death are followed by birth. And birth is again followed by aging and death. Lastly, Pattika Samupada, also known as Nidana doctrine, are related conditions. It further means origination of the world order depending on causes. But from the absolute standpoint, it means non-origination at all times leading to 12 Nibbanas, the goal of life according to Buddhism, which I have discussed earlier. So this suggests that the theory of dependent origination is not merely a stereological tool, indicating how individual ought to proceed in order to attain liberation from the causal process of samsara, but also a psychological chart mapping the working of the mind. Let me repeat again. It's a psychological chart mapping the working of the mind, how we develop and how we develop our mind to work for the liberation, to attain liberation. I hope I am been able to explain it properly, how scientifically it was connected in a cycle, all the 12 Nibbanas. So hope people will understand this, and let me thank the esteemed audience for listening to me with intent. Namo Buddhaya.
साधु 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 बहुत अच्छा महापात्रा जी।
लामा जी,
Very nice, Mahapatraji.
Thank you, sir.
thank you, Mahapatra ji. Kiran Lama ji, can you ask next speaker?
I think I have taken a little more time.
Yes, yes.
But I may
For
kindly
the-
be excused for that.
No, no, you are in time, sir. Very nice.
I would now like to invite our chief guest, Dr. National Museum, New Delhi, and Vice Chancellor, National Museum Institute of History of Arts, Conversation and Musicology, New Delhi.
Namo Buddhaya. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Most respected Bhikshu Sangha, Reverend Shivali Mahathero, respected Chair, Dr. Bimlendra Kumar, distinguished scholars, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I must express my gratefulness to the Mahabodhi Society of India for asking me to join this celebration on Ashadi Purnima or Guru Purnima, the day on which Lord Buddha gave his first sermon at ancient Mrigadav or Rishipatan, now known as Sarnath, and the first sermon known as Dharmachakra Pravartan or Dhammachakra Pravartan. And it is Sarnath from where Buddhism spread all over the world. We have been listening to distinguished speakers on various aspects of philosophy, theology, etc., and also on the particular Dhammachakra Pravartan Sutta. Now, as an archaeologist, let me take you a little away from this to the material culture which we find in Sarnath and which I would like to tell about my experience of working in excavations over there. Because of certain technical glitch and shortage of time, I'm not going to give a PowerPoint presentation, but maybe at certain point, I'll show some of the slides. And in the beginning, I would like to tell that the over 200 years of archaeological researches beginning in 1815 when Colonel Mackenzie worked at Sarnath, followed by Alexander Cunningham in 1830s and later in 1860s by other archaeologists of the Archaeological Survey of India, Major Kitto, Ortel, Dearam Sani, Sir John Marshall, etc. We have come to know much about the archaeological remains at Sarnath. At least 8 monasteries, a large number of votive stupas, remains of Dharmrajik stupa, the Dhammek stupa, the Chaukhandi stupa, and over 7,000 sculptures, particularly belonging to the Sarnath school of art, which flourished in the Gupta period. Most of them having been preserved in the Sarnath Museum. But the thing is that in spite of 200 years of archaeological work, at the site, which, as I said, began in the beginning of the 19th century and continued till the first half of the 20th century. That was the period when there was no concept of stratigraphy, no concept of scientific dating like which we have today, radiocarbon dating and other associated dating methods. There was no concept of 3D recording. So many of the evidences have not been properly recorded. Even the scholars who had worked for more than 150 years, they believed that there was nothing before Emperor Ashok at Sarnath. And it all begins with the construction of monasteries, construction of stupas, erection of the famous pillar having the national emblem, today's national emblem, the lion capital. So all these were the beginning of the archaeological material at Sarnath. So that was one of the main problems over which we wanted to confirm what happened during the period of Lord Buddha and Emperor Ashok. That is from the 5th century BC to the 3rd century BC. So with that objective, we started excavating once again in 2013-14 as additional Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India. I took up this work along with my colleagues, and we got some very interesting evidences. So before I give you about details a little bit, because time is short and I think I have to complete within 10 to 12 minutes. So I would like to show you some of the slides like this one, which gives an idea about the archaeological site and the 3 areas marked with red in A, B, C, and D, that is in the center, the main shrine, and towards its south, west, and north. So this was the area which we excavated a little bit, where excavations had not taken place earlier. Now, these are some of the pictures of the site when we found that there was no excavation at this particular area, and then we exposed certain remains. We found some interesting sculptures belonging to the Gupta period, and we were more interested in this apsidal structure, which still exists and which was repaired during later times, and it was believed to be a late Mauryan structure. But our excavations in the vicinity around the structure that showed that it starts during the early Mauryan period itself. We excavated just our trenches next to the structure, and we found the lower part of the foundation of the structure over which the walls were erected, and the bricks which were used in this apsidal structure, they were Mauryan bricks. The typical Mauryan bricks, which are 48 centimeters to 52 centimeters in length. We collected samples and sent them to Beta Inc. Limited, which is in USA, in Florida. We sent the samples for dating, and we found the date of 385 BC in one of the carbon samples which we collected from the trenches. We also exposed some of the areas towards north of the northern side of the main shrine, and we found that the lower part of this particular stupa, circular stupa, the lower part, this one, has got Mauryan bricks. So during the time of Ashok, probably these structures were erected first, and they were continued till Gupta period through Kushan period, Shung Kushan period. We found there was another important aspect on which we had to work because of the excavation reports which had been published in in the Archaeological Survey of India annual reports. No section was published. So we found, we excavated in such a way that complete section up to Mauryan levels and terminating up to the 12th century should be covered. And that was done for the first time to show what was the cultural deposit of the site. And the cultural sequence comes to period 1 being pre-Mauryan to Mauryan period, period 2 Shunga period, then followed by Kushan, Gupta, post-Gupta, and early medieval times. So that is how we proceeded further. And we had the complete sections prepared, which are essential part of a report writing work. Interestingly, we also excavated the remains of the side remains of the Dharmarajik Stup, where we found this these southern steps, monolithic staircase having the steps, and then on this there is an inscription which records that this was donated in the year 100. So that means if you take Shak era to be 78 AD, then the dating of this addition to the Dharmarajik Stup comes to 178 AD, and probably that was the period following the Kushan rule at the site, in the area, and most probably it was Ashok, the king, local king who was ruling over there, whose coins, seals, ceilings, and some names inscribed in elsewhere are also found. And there is one inscription on the top also, just giving the name Ashok. And we found the remains of the suchis of railing pillars, which probably surrounded the entire Dharmrajik Stup. Dharmrajik Stup was most important stupa because it is called Dharmrajik because it was constructed by King Ashok, and the bodily remains of Lord Buddha, they were kept inside, but in the early 18th century by one of the officers of Maharaja of Kashi, it was removed because he was searching for Jagat Singh. He was searching for material for construction of a locality in Kashi. And I was mentioning about this inscription, which clearly mentions here Varsha Shat, that means 100th year. We have found a number of stone, terracotta, and other objects from the site. And interestingly, we excavated the central part of the main shrine, but we found that it ends, the last period is Gupta period. So this is not the center of the attractivity attraction or activity during early historic period, but the apsidal Chaitya, that was the main center of activity, and most probably that was the Mulgandakuti, of which we find a number of inscriptions on seals and ceilings particularly. So I'm not going into details, but there are certain aspects over which I would like to tell that there is one polished sandstone part of some edifice which has 3 letters available, Ta, Va, and Ha. That means it was not a part of the Ashokan pillar inscription, but it was some other inscription on some other object of the Mauryan period. So we have a number of other objects belonging to Mauryan period, and we also found certain sculptures belonging to the Gupta period, like this. I'll show you some of the slides, not all. But you can imagine that typical Sarnath school is represented in these. Even the event of Sankisa, where Lord Buddha, after preaching 3 months to his mother, descended on earth. So all these things are available, and I'm grateful once again to the organizers who have given me this chance to be part of this celebration. Thank you very much.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
I would now invite Professor Mahesh Devkar, the Head Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Pune University.
Sir.
Professor Mahesh Devkar.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, audible.
Okay. Okay, so first of all, my sincere and heartfelt gratitude to the organizers for organizing this webinar on the occasion of the Dhammacakkappavattana day or the Ashadi Purnima. My reverence is due to the Triple Gem and the head monk of the Mahabodhi Society and all its members. So today we are discussing about the importance of this particular day. While thinking about this, certain thoughts came to my mind, which I'm going to present before you. As you all know and are aware of this whole tradition of Dhammacakkappavattana, the turning or setting the wheel of Dhamma into motion. And as we have already heard from earlier speakers about the sutta and the detailed exposition of the sutta as we find it in the Pali canon, in the Vinaya Pitaka as well as in the Samyutta Nikaya. But we are aware that all Buddhist traditions, although they accept this as a Dhammacakkappavattana, but they also talk about not just one, but more turning of wheels in the tradition. And it is said in the Mahayana tradition that the Buddha turned the wheel of the Dhamma for the second time, simultaneously at two places. He appeared on the Rudrakuta mountain and taught the Paramitanaya, the method of perfections, that is the path of bodhisattvahood. And then in Sridhanya Kataka, he taught the path of mantra. It is called Mantranaya. And this is how we have in the Mahayana tradition these two modes of practice, the Bodhisattva way and the Tantra way. And it doesn't stop there. Later on in the Yogacara tradition or the Chittamatra tradition, it is said that the Buddha turned the wheel of the Dharma for the third time. And here in the third turning of the wheel, he taught the sutra called Sandhi Nirmochana Sutra, which is a sutra that talks about mind-only philosophy, the Chittamatra doctrine. And then even in modern times, now one of the earlier speakers talked about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and his contribution. So we also hear the word of the fourth turning of the wheel when Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar accepted Buddhism. He embraced Buddhism and converted to Buddhism. And in his magnum opus, The Buddha and Dhamma, he also talks about Dhammacakkappavattana discourse, the first sermon of the Buddha, in a different way than what we find in the traditional descriptions. So in this fourth so-called turning of the wheel, which we call, he emphasizes not the regular formula of the middle way and the Four Noble Truths and so on, as we have already heard in the speech of Professor Ramesh Prasadji earlier. But what he talks about in this Dhammacakkappavattana discourse is the teaching about the five-fold precepts, Shila, Panchashila, which he calls as the teaching of purity. Then the eightfold path, which is termed as the path of righteousness. And the third one is the perfections, paramita, and with some modification, with some change in the traditional list of paramitas, where he includes compassion, karuna, in the list of 10 paramitas, which we don't find in the earlier traditional list of 10 paramitas. And this he calls as a path of virtues. So purity, righteousness, and virtues. I mean, this is the three aspects of this Dhammacakka Pavatana, which Dr. Ambedkar emphasizes. Now, it is interesting that in different traditions of Buddhism, we have interpretations of the Dhammacakra Pravartana in different ways. And I was thinking, why is it so? I mean, if we talk about the Buddha and his first teaching, of course, even in the Theravada tradition, we have sometimes different views about, like, for example, what is the first utterance of the Buddha, whether it is Aneka Jati Samsaram, that particular stanza, a couple of stanzas, a couplet, or is it Yada Have Patu Bhavanti Dhamma, as we have already heard in one of the earlier speeches. So, I mean, we find that in the Sutta and the Vinaya, often we find some kind of discrepancy, some kind of a contradiction there. But now, if you take a Buddhist tradition as a whole, you can see this different Dhammacakra Pravartana Sutra. And then when I was thinking about this, what came to my mind is, see, I mean, we know that the Dhammacakra Pravartana Sutta, which the Pali Dhammacakra Pravartana Sutta is the first sutra from the Shravakayana point of view, from the point of view of the Theravada tradition, which the goal of this, as we have already heard, that after this discourse, those disciples, I mean, Anya Kondaya became, he got the knowledge. He did not become the Arhat straight away, but he became the Sotapanna, and then he was the first person to realize this what is taught in this sutra about the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. So the aim, the ultimate goal of this discourse is to lead someone to Arhathood, as we have already heard, the Dukkha Nirodha, and which takes one to the state of being an Arhat. And the path which is taught is the path of, I mean, the Eightfold Path, right? That's a means to which can take you to this goal of Arhathood. And what is emphasized is the realization of dukkha. So dukkha is a central theme, although we have already heard that Ramesh Prasad has already mentioned that all the three lakshanas are involved, but more evident is the dukkha lakshana rather than the anitya or anatma. I mean, though they are embedded because they are in a way interrelated. Okay, now we go to the second and the third. I mean, second Dhammacakka Pavatana. We can see that it is done in two places, and it basically talks about two different paths. The goal of this particular Dhammacakka Pavatana is to teach the path of Bodhisattvahood. So this is a Bodhisattvayana, right? So when we say Mahayana, it's basically a Bodhisattvayana. And in the Bodhisattvayana, what we see is that you have two types of practices, two paths. One is the path of paramitas, perfections, which we know as a bodhisattva. Siddhartha Gautama, I mean, as a bodhisattva, he practiced in all previous births. He perfected his virtues and ultimately became the Buddha. But that is a long path. This is a path which requires many asankheyas, right? We know that the four asankheya kalpas, more than that, is required to reach this goal. And then the second path is the path of mantranaya, or what is popularly known as a tantrayana, which claims that by practicing this path, one can reach the Buddhahood in just a single life. So here we can see the goal is the Buddhahood, unlike the goal of the first, the Theravada or the Shavakayana Dharmachakra Pravartana, which is the Arhathood. And the path here is not just the Eightfold Path, but it is a path of either paramitas or the path of the mantra, the tantric practices. Now, if you turn to the third turning of the wheel, again, the goal is same. The goal is not different. The goal is still Buddhahood, because the Yogacara school, which considers this sutra as, considers this third turning of the wheel as their foundation. They consider that this is their goal is also Buddhahood, but now the path is different. The path is not of the paramitas or the mantras, but to realize that whatever we experience is nothing but our own mind. It's a projection of our own mind. So one has to kind of understand and get rid of the vikalpas and realize the pure consciousness, right? So that's the goal. That's the path. And once you have that realization, then you become the Buddha. So the goal is same. The goal is still Buddhahood. So it is still a Bodhisattva, the Buddhayana, or you can say the Bodhisattvayana. But the practice, the path, is now neither part of Eightfold Path, nor of the paramitas, nor of mantra, but is that of the realization of pure consciousness and Chittamatra. That's the principle. Now, when you come to the modern presentation of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, as we see in Dr. Ambedkar's work, as I already mentioned, here now the goal of Dr. Ambedkar's, the Buddhist path is, of course, if it is Nirvana and Buddha, it is fine. But basically, it is to be free from the craving, and the craving not at a personal level, but at a craving at the level of even on the social level, right? So and also something which is necessary for creating a just, a democratic society, right? A just society and a democratic society. And for that, he thinks that what we need is that these three things. He says that we need Shila, morality, because that would become a kind of a parameter to judge ourselves whether we are good human beings to live in a society or not. And there the purity is highlighted. So a person should try and strive to make his acts, his speech, and his mind pure by the practice of the morality. So this is one aspect. Second is the righteousness aspect. He says that the Eightfold Path he understands and interprets in terms of the path of righteousness. He says we require Dhamma when we live in a society. For a single person, Dhamma is not really so important because the religion, according to him, governs the relation between two people, right? So it's a relationship of a person with a society. So when we act righteously, like when you follow the Eightfold Path, we live in such a way that we don't harm others. We don't cause any trouble to the society, to the people who are living around us, right? Through right speech, right action, right livelihood, right views, right thoughts, etc. So he interprets the Eightfold Path in terms of this path of righteousness. And then the last thing, the third thing, and he includes the paramitas here, which we don't find in the Theravada tradition. The first two we do find in the Theravada tradition, but in the third thing which he includes is a paramita practice, and which is an important practice in the Mahayana tradition. We have it in the Theravada tradition, but it's more emphasized in the Mahayana tradition. Now here, Dr. Ambedkar again understands paramitas not to become a Buddha. Not with that high goal, but it is important. He says that if you want to be helpful to the society, the righteousness is kind of a negative part. You don't do anything wrong to the society. You don't trouble others. You don't cause nuisance in the society. But in order to contribute positively to the society and to the social welfare, we need the practice of paramitas. Because when you do dana, for example, you're helping people around you. Just now we also heard about the corona pandemic and the situation there. So now the dana is important. So when you do dana, you positively engage and help society. When you follow Shanti, when you follow, for example, the Shila, paramita. So all these paramitas, they ultimately, and he includes Maitri and Karuna as well in the list of paramitas. So when you practice them, you are actually contributing positively to the society and help to create a barrier-free society, which according to him is a goal of Sadharma. So according to Dr. Ambedkar, the first two things will be kind of a dharma. And then the third part, the paramita practice, is basically taking it to the level of the Sadharma. So with the Prajna and Karuna and the Shila together, it follows a part of the Sadharma to create a barrier-free society. So now what we see here is that Buddhism has been a dynamic tradition. And it has never been static. I mean, the rule of impermanence, in a way, you can see also is applicable to the tradition as a whole. If you look at the entire tradition through its history, and what we see is that whenever the teachers or the tradition found that we need to add something, we need to take the discourse further. They have felt free, and they have kind of introduced it in such a way that every time, of course, who is turning the wheel? It's always the Buddha. I mean, now people might have this question about the historicity and what is more historical and what is not historical and what is more mythical. But the point is here not about the history, whether the Buddha was really, whether he really taught this, he really taught the second Dharma Chakra or the third Dharma Chakra or the fourth Dharma Chakra. The point is how the tradition, how Buddhists themselves are looking at this Dhamma Chakra Pravartana Sutra. So they consider it as something as very dynamic, and it serves different goals in different times, considering the philosophical foundations and also the practice, the doctrinal foundations. And another important thing is that it also, emphasizes the different modes of practices to achieve that goal. So considering the different goals and different paths or practices required to achieve that goal, the different Dhammachakra Pravartana have been thought of by the tradition. And this is how we see that we have 4 different Dhammachakra Pravartanas. And I won't say that, okay, one is right and others are wrong. I mean, one is the true Dhammachakra Pravartana and the others are false. But I mean, I see it's the beauty of Buddhist tradition that it is so dynamic that it finds itself, flexible in these terms. And because the time changes and the problems, different problems come surface. And in order to address those different problems, we need different paths, right? Different strategies. And this is what we see in the Buddhist tradition. Now, maybe in the modern times, we have different challenges, though the core has remained the same, the deliverance from the dukkha. And this has been the core of all the 4 Dhammachakra Pravartana Sutra. Please remember this. So it may be a Mahayana tradition, or it may be the modern tradition, or it may be the Theravada tradition. The goal is same, dukkha mukti. But the way we understand the solution to the problem of suffering is different, and accordingly the Dhammachakra Pravartanas have changed. So this is something which I thought of, and I thought that I should share it with you. So thanks you very much for providing me this opportunity to share something with you. You may think about it more and come up with your own interpretations and understanding. So thank you very much once again. Thanks a lot.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you. I would now invite Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singh, archaeologist and museologist, head of the Department Publication, National Museum, Ministry of Culture, Government of India, New Delhi. Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singh. He's our last speaker. Then we have the President's speech. Then Dr. Vimalendu will give. So Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singh.
Namo Buddha. First of all, I offer my thanks to organizer for inviting me in this August gathering, when all stalwarts, all the people who are well known for their work in this field are there. I was listening as a student of primary student of the Buddhism, but at the same time, it was coming in my mind. Okay, why not? We should give not only textual, but we should give something representation of Buddha in art. That is Indian art and Buddha, or commonly known as a Buddhist art. So, in this context, I thought that the representation of life of Buddha in an art is to be shared with all of you. Most of you have already knowing it, seen it, but the large section of the audience are not aware with the fact how the life is, why Buddha was became the part of the art, that is Indian art, and which is commonly known as the Buddhist art. So with this concept, if we see, then Buddha gives ourselves, Buddha himself giving us the path why we should have Buddhist art with us. Starving should be done by yourselves. The Tathagat are only teacher, and the meditative ones who enter the way are the delivered from the bonds of Mara. Who can give you the mukti from the Maras? That is Tathagat only, the Buddha only. And that is why we have the concept of making image either of the 2 dimension or 3 dimension. And all over the world we have the penetration, we have the representation, we have its existence are being shown, though it was born in somewhere here in India, in the heart of the India, but spread all over the world. So how it is this is the essence of not only the textual remains, but also the is pictorial or imaginary factors are working together. When we have the philosophy, at the same time we had the pictorial remains, so that the audience like me or the bhaktas or the followers or the pupils like anyone who became the bhante or the he becomes coming in the sangha, as we have the three ratnas, Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dharmam Sammam Gacchami, Shangham Saranam Gacchami. How he will concentrate? So for the concentration, you need a image. Everybody is not having got the Buddhism or the so elevated, but for them they need something to be imaginary or the pictorial representation, so that he or she can concentrate on that point, how the image of Buddha came into existence. And also when it came into existence, it is spread around the globe. And we know the role of religion. Religion play a very important role in the life of people, and Buddhism is a perfect example of how a religion can enrich an art and culture of various nationalities. Buddhism, a religion of humanity, fraternity, and equality, became one of the world's greatest unifying forces, which transcended the borders and barriers of the religious diversity and survive more vigorously outside its own land of birth. And I have the experience, all of you have the experience, but I have traveled China, I have traveled South Korea, I have traveled Japan, I have traveled Singapore, I traveled Laos, many countries I traveled, and everywhere I saw that the Buddha is represented in their indigenous style, but Buddha is there. Why Buddha is there in pictorial form? Because at the same, if it is a philosophy, we have the three ratnas, Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Shangham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Then we have the Buddha who can teach as a teacher, as we have told. The Tathagat is the only one source who is salvated from the grip of the Maras. So the gift of Buddhism is the gift of religion and philosophy and wisdom and spirituality. Buddhism served as a significant force in binding together culturally the country on its birth India, and nations that adopted it in the East and Southeast Asia in ancient times, with transformation into Mahayana, transformation to China, Korea, Japan, Tibet, etc. Buddhist art itself emerged into diverse uh, um, diverse nature, the gift of diverse forms of in each country. So here, Buddha have got the place in the monuments, in the urns, in the sculptures. So I told you that there is a 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional representation of Buddha. So in this way, we have Gautam Buddha, the historical founder of the Buddhism, was a person of great wisdom and analytical powers. Buddhism is not a total revolt against the Brahmanism. While Buddha revolted against the elaborate Brahminical rituals and animal sacrifice, he accepted the best of the existing system. In formulating his religion, Buddha was greatly influenced by the liberal thinking of the Upanishads. Upanishads says the prevailing idea of yoga practices and the theory of karma and the value of mendicant life. So here it is a one of the representation of Buddha, and I will see you something. The Buddhist tradition is a psycho-ethical analysis of self as propounded by the familiar system of ancient Indian philosophy, including Sankhyas, Yoga, Mimamsa, Vedanta, Vasishtha, and Nyaya. Buddhism has definitely definition of our problems, a definite goal and definite path between the two. And if it has a definite path, definite solution for that, then how he will give the inspiration to the world. So for inspirational things, the pictorial remains or sculptural art have came into the existence, and which is visible around the globe. So you see that I'm just showing few slides. I'm not explaining those things, and you can understand and enjoy these slides. But Nirvana is the summum bonum of the Buddhism. Buddhism is unthinkable without the guiding principle of Nibbana. Buddha said, as the vast ocean, O monks, it is impregnated with one flavor. Buddhism is unthinkable without the guiding principle of Nibbana. Buddha said, as the vast ocean, O monks, impregnated with the one flavor, the flavor of salt, so also, O monks, is my teaching and disciplines impregnated with the just one flavor, the flavor of emancipation. In the words of Milinda Panna, Nirvana is a profound like an ocean, lofty like mountain, big and sweet like honey. However, in the course of time, the Buddhist philosophy became highly developed and intricate and side by side with its art and iconography. Again, I have said you that we have the 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional. Just in between, I am putting these figures. Indian art is an expression of Indian life and thought attuned to its vast natural background and its socio-religious tradition. It is not exclusive or a sectarian in the narrow sense of the term. Its style, technique, or general tenor, nothing to do with any religious outlook. It is fed and fostered upon a vast storehouse of Indian tradition, symbols and designs. The term Hindu, Jain, and Buddhist art is but a popular nomenclature to distinguish one group or monuments, including painting, cave temples, architecture, etc., from the another standpoint of the predominant of one of their religious theme. One of the religious theme. Again, I am giving you one pictorial representation of the image of Buddha, how the life of Buddha. Buddhist art reflects very faithfully all the important aspects of Buddhism. In primitive Buddhism, Gautam Sakyamuni has been regarded as an ideal human being, and quite naturally we find that the early Buddhist art of Bharat, Sanchi, Bodh Gaya, Amravati, and other places show no anthropomorphic representation of the master. His presence indicated by means of the empty throne, a Bodhi tree, or a pair of footprints, or Dhamma Chakra, symbolizing one or other event of the life. Even Buddha was not worshipped as, remembered as in anthropomorphic representation in the earlier phase, but his existences where the symbols were required for the people to get I mean samadhi, the consciousness on the point. So for samadhi, that is needed. Again, it is a wonderful piece of the Buddha as the life have been shown. So yeah, as the time passed, Buddhism acquired greater popularity and new adherent from all sections of the people. That discipline and austerities of early Buddhism were beyond the comprehension of the ordinary followers of the religion. A religion without a personal God in whom one can repose, faith had but little appeal to them. The demand of the popular mind was to made the Mahayanists who defined Buddha and introduced the concept of divine bodhisattva and several other deities. With this progress of time, the Buddhist pantheon was enlarged to include several hundred deities. Buddhist art treated events like birth, renunciation, Mara's attack, and enlightenment of Buddha as the immortal episode of the realization of being. The artist visualized the life of Buddha and made sculptures, paintings showing different events, epochs of life, be it the dream of Maya, astrological prediction, nativity, making horoscope, event related to education, great great departure, that is a Mahavishkraman, search of peace, meditation, sermon, Dharma Chakra Pavatan, death, Nibbana or Mahaparinirvana, etc. There were many schools of art in different era of time. So in different style, Buddhist life life events were portrayed. So that is what they needed. So Buddha, the advent of the when Buddha departed, then his followers have worshipped in different form. So he is the some masterpieces of the Buddha's life represented. Here is the first scene is the Maya's dream. Here you can see the Maya's dream, Kusana period, 2nd century Gandhara, and here is the Maya dream is shown in pictorial things. I will show you the another one. Here the nativity of Buddha. It is a birth of the Buddha. Nativity of the Buddha, Kusan period, again 2nd century, Kusana period in a National Museum. Here when Buddha born, here the prediction of Asita is there. So I am showing you all the events of Buddha, life of Buddha represented in Buddhist art. So again you have the astrologer making horoscope of the newborn child, or that is displayed in the Reed Museum of Chakdara, Pakistan. Now it is in Pakistan. So again, I will showing you that the Bodhisattva going school, Kusana period, 2nd century Gandhara National Museum. It is also in the National Museum. It is going. His life is going to school. Again, it is the great departure. Here you have the description of Buddha. That is a Mahavishkraman in 2nd century Loria 20 Indian Museum, Kolkata. It is preserved in Indian Museum, Kolkata. The Buddha is living for the attainment of the Buddhism, and he is leaving the house. So it is known as the Mahavishkraman, and the artists have beautifully portrayed those things. And here the Buddha's life can be seen in that way. Again, when he left the house, he was going for the meditation. He went to the yogis, and here is you can see the meditation, meditating Buddha. And again, it is a 2nd century BCE. And the famous here in Peshawar, you have he became the skeleton. He remained the skeleton only, and it is beautifully portrayed, beautifully sculpted by the artist of the Gandhara, and it is now in Pakistan in Peshawar Museum. So here again, this is the masterpieces where you have the it is in Sarnath, situated in Sarnath. That is it is believed to be the one of the best piece of the Buddha. Here it is a belief that it is the first image of the Buddha giving the sermon to the world. First sermon he has given. Here it is called the Dharmachakravartan Mudra, and it is believed to be the Gupta period. It is believed to be the one of the best piece of the world. So again, we have the Buddha's. Then after he gave the sermon, he has to leave the world, this earthly world. So that is known as the Mahaparinirvana, and it is also depicted by the our artist, and the artist of that period has narrated the story, or imagine the environment, that what was with the position when Buddha died, when Buddha got the Mahaparinirvana, when go for the Mahaparinirvana. Here it is one of the same, that is one of the best piece of the Gandhara, that is also preserved in the National Museum. So here it is one piece. It is one piece, live scene of Buddha. Here you can see here you can see it in this motif panel. That panel surmounted by the stupa depicts four principal events of Buddha life. That is birth in Lumbini, birth at Lumbini, enlightenment at Bodh Gaya, first sermon. You can see the artistic representations. First sermon at Sarnath, and great demise at Kusinagar, and above that you have built the stupa. So see the imagination, how the Buddha was part and parcel of all kind of imagination, be it the birth, be it the his attainment of the Buddhism, be it the giving the first sermon, Dharma Chakra Parivartan, or the Mahaparinirvana. So all are depicted, symbolized here in a different form. So here you also you can have this one, and that is what the sermon then propounded the doctrine of the Four Noble Truths. That is, there is a suffering, there is a cause of suffering, the दुख है, दुख का कारण है, दुख का निवारण है, और दुख के से निकलने का रास्ता भी है. That there is a cessation of suffering, there is a path of which leads towards, or for that we have the fourth noble truth is a path by which person can reach a state free from the suffering. The path consists that 8 constituents, and therefore called eightfold noble path. That is Arya Astangic Magda, or Samyak Gyan Samyak. That is a right determination, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right efforts, right mindless, right consciousness, right understanding. So we have the 8-fold, and all are depicted in the Buddhist things. And initially, as I told that Buddha was not worshipped or remembered in the anthropomorphic form, but he was remembered by its symbol. It is the footprints of the Buddha preserved in the Indian Museum, Kolkata. Again, you have the Dvipada Buddha Pada inscribed in Nagarjuna Kunda's 3rd century CE. It is in the National Museum collection. And just I'm not explaining anything, but I'm giving you the example. Here the worship of a Buddhi, how Bodhi tree was representing the image of the Buddha, and how he was worshipped. It is a worship of the Bodhi tree, and it is also Bodhi Vriksha, and also it is one of the example. Here again you have the festival hair knots. That is again a stupa. They also Buddha path. Then they worship Bodhi tree or Bodhi Vriksha, Bodhi Vriksha. Then a stupa, and then they worshipped chakras. Worship of chakra symbolizes the chakra. That is a wheel. They have worshipped it. It was the symbol of the Buddha. So these are represented in our art, and you can see the details of that here. After this, Buddha's this representation in the Bodhi tree or the Buddha path or the symbol of the chakras or the stupa, then we are entering in the anthropomorphic form. It is one of the finest example that is a coin, that is, we call it the Boro coin of Kanishka. Here you have the depiction of us and reverse. In one way, one part the king is standing on the reverse and Buddha is standing in the Abhay on the reverse. So here the first represented made out of the gold, and the Buddha was part of the royalty. Here is the Bimran casket. Buddha is being shown in the Bimran casket. And here, this is the first sermon of the Dharma Chakravartan, Santri Gandhara, Indian Museum, Kolkata. You can see that he's flanked by the so much followers. So Buddha's life was depicted by the artist in such a fascinating way, so that he is associated with not the only monks, but the common man too. And you can imagine that here you can see the here royal figures also, you can see the monks also, you can see the common people also, you can see the royalty also. So all these are there, and what for there? The master is here who is deliver the first sermon, and the first sermon is the Buddha was, to whom should I first preach the Dhamma? So profound as it is, he decided to go to the Ispatana, Megadhya near Varanasi, that is Sarnath, and preach to the group of 5 monks who were residing there at that time. The sermon that is delivered to them is known as the Dhamma Chakravartan Sutta, or turning of the wheel of law, which is the first and most significant exposition of Buddhism. The sermon that propounds the doctrine for the Four Noble Truths. So this is how the Buddha's life are shown in the pictorial. I'm just showing you the some representation of Buddha's life in the pictorial art, that is sculptures and the part of the monuments. So I'm not going to explain because time is short, and we have been told earlier that I have to finish it within a prescribed time. I believe that I have crossed the limit of time, but just I'm showing the pictorial things. 2 to 3 minutes, I will finish it. So here you have the preaching Buddha, and you have the life scene of the Buddha. You can see, you can see the even small tablets, a small niches. You can see the life of Buddha. So every part of the life of the society was influenced by the presence of the Buddha. That is why the artists of the world, artists of the contemporary society, go back to 3rd century CE, BCE, to still today they are making the Buddha in the figure, and that is why it exists. And you can see also Buddha giving the sermon. You can see the surroundings, and you can see the faces. He has traveled a lot, and everywhere wherever he went, he has given the sermon. I'm skipping something, and now yes. So all kind of material were we used to show him. His life was shown in that stone, metal of the bronze or the gold or the copper or the brass. So whatever the material you think, he was present there. In every material, his representation is there. Be it the terracotta, be it the palm leaf or the barkman. So everywhere the tarapatra, everywhere his existence is there. So here you can have the terracotta. So you can see here you have the bronze. Here you have the stone. Here you can see the Buddha. So you can see it is a part of the manuscript, and you can see here the Buddha and the different attire and the different language you have. So ultimately Buddha lives in our heart, and this stupa symbolizes that here the Buddha rests, and here the Buddha, and in the niche Buddha has showing that compassion, karuna. He is giving the salvation. He is giving us the path to how to come out of the grip of the Mara. And that is why the Buddha's reputation of life, it billions of, I'm not saying that it is in hundred or thousands, it is in billions. And wherever you go, you'll find the Buddha's life is depicted either in stone or the terracottas or the metal or the paper or the on the leather or the bhojpatras or palm leaf. So everywhere you will find the Buddha, and Buddha is there to give us that here I am there to salve you. And that is why if you do something that is a mudras, if you go for the practices, you have to concentrate yourself, and that is where the Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dharanam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami, and the Gach. So that is why we are thankful to, I am thankful to Reverend monks of the Mahabodhi Society, members of the Mahabodhi Society, inviting me for this August gathering. I acknowledge the scholars whose works have inspired my writing, and the institution whose photographs were used. I am thankful to my dear friend Professor Radha Banerjee for giving me continuously encouragement to present this to sum up these things within a short span of time. I am thankful to you all. I am thankful to you all that you have given me the time, and I have shown just a few example of the Buddha's life in the art, Buddhist Indian art, and it is for that. So nice of you for hearing me for a few minutes. I am so thankful to all of you. Dhanyavad, Aabhar. Jai Hind.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Presiding over this webinar, we were having Professor Dr. Baidyanath Lal, the Vice Chancellor of the Mahavihara, Nalanda Bihar. I would now invite Professor Dr. Baidyanath Lal to please highlight today's theme and this auspicious occasion. Professor Dr. Baidyanath Lal.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo
Let me
Buddhaya.
at the outset extend my hearty congratulations to all of you on the Salapoya, that is Ashadi Purnima, the day which marks the day of first Dharma Chakra Pravartan at Sarnath. Various we have listened to so many distinguished scholars. So Venerable Bhikshu Sangha, Dr. Nanji Dorji, Venerable Shivli Mahathero, Professor Ramesh Prasad, Professor B.R. Mani, Professor Bimrendra Kumar, C.M. Uppalji, Saurendra Kumar Sharma, Dr. Kiran Lamaji, Dr. Revant Vikram Singh, Surendra Mahapatra ji, Sanjeev Kumar Singh ji, whom we have just heard, my very dear friend Professor Mahesh Devkar ji, and all participants who have joined us to celebrate this great occasion. All of us know in the whole Bharatiya tradition, this Purnima, the full moon day, symbolizes the perfect day. That is, the moon starts from Pratipada and gets its full view on the Purnima day. So this symbolizes the perfection, perfect day, and symbolizes a perfect person, a perfect enlightened person, and he gives, he preaches the whole world for perfection. In the Pali scriptures, particularly Vinay Pitaka and other scriptures, find that, and I won't like to repeat so many things because much have already been told, and we are, for hours, we are listening to different scholars. I bow down before my very senior friend, Professor B.R. Mani, who has given a new concept to Buddhism by through his archaeological works. It was he who gave brought to light the presence of Buddhism in Jammu. I served the Jammu University for nearly 32 years, and before that, people did not know that there was something something which existed in Jammu. It was Professor B.R. Mani who unearthed the Sai Buddhist site at Ambara, and a new chapter on Buddhism has started in Jammu. He has done a lot, so it was a great occasion to listen to him. Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singh has also thrown light on from the archaeological and art point of view on Buddhism. In the beginning, I could not join because of this disconnecting problem. I was not getting through. So I might have missed some scholars, but I started listening from Professor Ramesh Prasad ji, and number of scholars who have already spoken, Professor Mahesh Devkar and all that, Mahapatra ji, Revat Vikram Singh ji and all that. So I believe that Buddhism is one of the best or brightest fruits of Bharatiya culture. He was a Bharatiya who spread the light of enlightenment to the whole world. When Edwin Arnold wrote on Light of Asia, of course, since he was from Asia, that's why he wrote Light of Asia. But otherwise, Buddha is the light of the world. He has shown the path to the world. The Bharatiya tradition has never believed in spreading its thoughts through coercion like some of the religions of the world. It has always believed in love and affection and compassion. And that was the reason we, without any taking help of any sword, we spread our message of humanity, not only in different countries of Asia, but even to the other parts of the world. So far as Buddhism is concerned, because the word dharma, or in Pali dhamma, there is no difference. There is no difference between the two. Some people insist on using the dhamma. Some people insist on dharma. So that is immaterial. The religion is not a perfect translation of dharma. Religion covers a very small part of dharma. So in our tradition, dharma has a very broad meaning, which encompasses a lot of things. And Buddhism is that way one of the most perfect dharmas. We know that when Siddhartha Gautam got enlightenment or the perfect knowledge at Bodh Gaya, he was in a fix whether to share his views of noble dharma to others or not. And Pali texts inform us that he remained there. He stayed there for 7 weeks. And he was hesitant over sharing his views, thinking that his views were so profound, his knowledge was so profound and so subtle that the people just going with the current of passion and ignorance would not be able to understand. But when Sampati Brahma, the Lord of this universe, came and requested him to share his views, because there were some people who were less polluted mentally, and the Buddha agreed. He went to Sarnath. After spending 49 days, he took 11 days from Bodh Gaya to Sarnath. And we know that he delivered his first sermon, which is called in Pratham Dharma Chakra Pravartan or Pratham Dhamma Chakra Pravartan. Professor Mahesh Devkar has already told that different Dharma Chakra Pravartanas were set by the Buddha. Mahayana, historically not correct, but we respect the sentiments of all currents of Buddhism. Mahayana, although historically came much later, but they believe that the Buddha delivered the second, set into motion the second Dharma Chakra at Rajgriha, Gridhakut mountain, and the third one at Dhanyakatak, which is presently Amaravati in Andhra Pradesh. So, okay, but since they have all faith in all these Dharma Chakra Pravartanas by Buddha himself, so the faith should not be questioned, and faith should be revered, and we revere the faith of all streams of the followers of Buddhism. I simply wish to share with you that we Bharatiyas are sometimes very shy over many things. And when some other country, people of other countries, they start saying, no, no, the Buddha was here. The Buddha was born there. He belonged to this country, that country. So we Bharatiyas should be competent enough and confident enough to say that, okay, we must be possessive also. Why should we feel shy? The Buddha was born at Lumbini, which was at the Ashoka's time was a part of Magad Empire. There was no existence of Nepal as a separate country at that time. Had it not been a part of Magad, how could Ashoka reduce the land revenue from 1/5 to 1/8? I have visited the Kapil Vastu, which is Tilora Court in Nepal, which is claimed by the people that they thought that was Kapil Vastu. And there is a Kapil Vastu in Bharat or in UP also. I have very minutely studied, although I am not an archaeologist, but on the basis of this Buddhist Tripitak and Buddhist Pali literature, when the Buddha's relics were divided into 8 parts, and the people of Kapil Vastu also took one part and they erected on a stupa. Where is that stupa in Tilora Court? There is no stupa in Tilora Court, but Mahastupa still exists in Kapil Vastu. So these are, and there was a pot which was unearthed and which was found there, which inscribed Kapil Vastu. Had it not been Kapil Vastu, how could it be possible there? So these are some of the things that we shouldn't. I don't say that we just offend others, but we should be confident enough that Buddha and Buddhism is our property, which we have gifted to the whole world. And we should feel proud of it. Today, Buddhism is such a force that it never took the help of, as I have already told, even the whole Sanatan tradition never took the help of sword or coercion, but still because of its universal values, full of love, affection, compassion, it got by heart by the people of different countries. And today, when we find that Buddhism is spread not only in different parts of Southeast Asia, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, etc., it is accepted and revered by the people of Europe, America, Africa, who are not necessarily Buddhist within inverted commas. But this universal message of the Buddha, they're full of compassion, that appeals them. And this is the reason the body of Buddha is no longer here, but he is immortal. and we remember him with all respect. The whole world remembers him with respect and reverence. So this is the day when we remember the Buddha, but simply remembering the Buddha and his teachings and not practicing upon them, not following them, is meaningless. I often quote from the Dhammapada, Appam bahum piche sangitam bhasamano natakkaro hoti naropamatto gopo pagavo ganayang paresang na bhagava samaya sahoti. Even if a person recites a number of shlokas or and verses from the holy scriptures, but does not follow them, he is just like a cowherd who takes the cattle of the master from the cowshed in the morning to the grazing field and takes them back to the cowshed in the evening. He does not become the master of his those cattle. Similarly, but on the contrary, even if a person recites a very small number of verses from the scriptures, but follow them, he is the real master of, he really tastes the fruit of those saintlyhood and other things. So with these words, I won't take much time, and I congratulate the speakers, especially Professor Mani Sahab, Sanjeev Kumar Singh ji, and all friends who have spoken on various aspects of Buddhism and celebrating and honoring this day. So once again, I extend my all best wishes to all of you and express my gratitude to the organizers who gave this opportunity to me to share my views with you. Thank you so much. Namo Buddhaya.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Concluding today's webinar, I would now invite Professor Dr. Bimalendra Kumar, the convener and the former head Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Banaras Hindu University, to please express your words of appreciation for the speakers and our guest of honor attending this webinar this evening. Professor Dr. Bimalendra Kumar ji.
Thank you, Dr. Kiran Lama ji. Before I come to myself, Venerable Sister Bhikkhuni Bodhicitt is online. So I would like to request her, if she speaks for only 2 words as a blessings, it will be blessings for this international webinar. So may I request Venerable Bhikkhuni Bodhicitt, if she tells only blessings 2 words. Bhikkhuni Bodhicitt.
Thank you so much. And yes, happy too. So we wish you all a happy full moon day. And sorry, I had problems logging in, but later I managed to somehow work it out. So I missed a lot of the talks, but I think I was at the end of the thing I managed to. So sorry that I missed most of your talks, and I'm sure you all learned a lot of things, and this webinar was successful and many people must have found it very helpful. So wish you all the abilities to arrange more and more of this type of webinars, so many people can benefit from this. So I would like to share the merits with Bhante Sivali, the General Secretary of Mahabodhi Society, and all the other Bhantes who are helping, and also Professor Bimarinda, and also everyone else in that committee, and also who is helping and arranging these webinars. May you all find strength and courage to continue to do this lovely work, and also all the speakers and everyone who participated, and also all of your parents, teachers, and children, partners, relatives, and even grandchildren and friends and everyone. May they all benefit from the merits that you all have generated, and may all of you find good health and long life. And also may these merits that you all have generated bring all of you closer to the Nibbana. May you all be able to find success in all the good endeavors that you undertake, and may you all penetrate into the Four Noble Truths and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very life. May you all be well, comfortable, peaceful, and happy. Sukhi hotu sopateva.
Thank you, Venerable Sister. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So I am really grateful to you for giving words of appreciation for this international webinar, as well as giving your blessings and giving generosity towards all the speakers and observers and participants of this international webinar. So we are really thankful and grateful for generosity, giving your blessings as well as merits. Thank you very much. So before come to words of thanks to each speaker, may I request our chairman of the seminar, Professor Baidyanath Lal, to allow me to share kindly unmute you. Kindly unmute yourself. Kindly mute yourself. Thank you. Okay. May I request Professor Baidyanath Lal, sir, kindly allow me to share, to release our Mahabodhi journal.
Sure. Most welcome.
Yes. So just so with the permission of our General Secretary, President N. Dorjeji, as well as President of our Chairman of this session, as well as guest of honor, our Dr. B.R. Mani, I am going to share the Mahabodhi journal, and the permission of all this, I would like to release this journal, the Mahabodhi journal. I request all the delegates to kindly mute yourself. So I am sharing the screen. If you go through the screen, this is the 130th volume of the Mahabodhi journal. This journal was started by Venerable Anagarika Dharmapal in 1891. And this is the 130th volume, which is going to be released by our President of our Chairman of this international webinar on Dhamsak Pavartan Divas and Ashadi Purnima. So with the permission of all these speakers as well as participants, I am going to release this Mahabodhi journal. I am very much glad also to declare that this Mahabodhi journal has been included in the UGCK journal also, and it has ISSN number. So this is the volume of Buddha Purnima. It was to be released in the month of May on the Buddha Purnima, but anyhow, it is going to be released on this Ashadi Purnima. So this is the cover page of the Mahabodhi journal, and this is being published by our Mahabodhi Society of India, headquarters Kolkata, and this is the first page of our Mahabodhi journal. And if you see, Editor-in-Chief Venerable P. Sivlithero, General Secretary, Mahabodhi Society of India, editor myself, and this is the third page, if you see, published by Mahabodhi Society of India, copyright Mahabodhi Society of India. This is the volume number, May 2020. And if these are the editorial boards. editorial Professor Saswati Mutsudi, Dr. Ujwal Kumar, and advisory board we are having editorial Professor Charles Wilben from Belgium, Professor Asankar Ratne, Sri Lanka, Professor G.A. Somaratne from Hong Kong Buddhist University, Professor Sangsen Singh, Delhi, India, Professor D.K. Barua, Kolkata, Professor K.T.S. Rao, Delhi, Professor Baidyanath Lab, Vice Chancellor, Nalanda Mahavihar, Nalanda, and Professor Chirapat Parpand Vidya from Silpakorn University, Bangkok, Thailand. These are the members of our editorial advisory board. And this is the website where this journal has been given a place. And for UGC Care journal, there is a necessary that the journal must have a website also. So these are some of the guidelines which have been written there. And this is the editor-in-chief note which has been given. And I am happy to declare that this volume is the special volume in honor of the revival of the Bhikkhuni Sangha. And we are quite aware that in 1996, this Bhikkhuni order was revived at the Mahabodhi Society of India Sarnath Center. So to commemorate this 25 years of revival of Bhikkhuni Sangha at Sarnath Mahabodhi Society of India, last year we had organized an international webinar on Bhikkhuni Sangha, past, present, and future. And this volume has been dedicated, or it is to commemorate the revival of the Bhikkhuni Sangha, because in this special volume, most of the papers are related with Bhikkhuni Sangha, and these papers were presented in our last international webinar held in the month of November 17th, 18th, and 19th, 2021. So this editorial chief editor's note has been written by our P. Sivili Thero, and with the wish of our Venerable P. Sivili Thero, this volume has been dedicated in honor of revival of Bhikkhuni Sangha. This is our myself editor's note. There are 12 articles which have been included in this paper, mostly presented in our international webinar held in 2016 at Mahabodhi Society, Bodh Gaya, as well as last year in 2021, the 8th International Conference on Pali and Buddhism. So there are 12 articles which have been included here, and one book review, as well as there is a life history of some of our Venerable Bhikkhuni, those who had participated in last webinar. So these are just in a very brief manner content I am going to come, that I have written all the papers in a very brief manner. So there is a sort of time I am not going to discuss. So these are some of the papers which have been included. The Buddhist order of nuns originating in struggling since origination, Dr. Niki Chaturvedi from Jodhpur. Second paper is a feminine participation in the donors world, a glimpse from the inscribed records of the Pala Sen period by Dr. Noor Banu Sattar. Third paper is Bhikkhuni Sanghamitta theory's role of disseminating Bodhi culture in Sri Lanka by Dr. Bhikkhu Dhammajyoti. Next paper is a Buddhist response to climate change, what we must do, by Dr. Maya Joshi, LSR College in New Delhi. Next paper, Dilemma and Development Status of Theravada Bhikkhunis in Modern China, including Taiwan, by Venerable Bhikkhu Vipassana and Bhikkhuni Tissara. Then next paper, Revival of the Bhikkhuni Sangha, Factors and Ways, by Dr. Arvind Kumar Singh. Next paper, Biographies, Eulogies, Funerary Inscriptions, Mapping the Influence of Buddhism upon Song China Societal Trends, by Dr. Dhriti Ray. Next paper, The Challenges of Vietnamese Bhikkhunis in the Contemporary Society in Canada, by Venerable Bhikkhuni Brenda H.X. Lee from Nalanda International University, Rajgir. And the next paper, Womanhood and Social Life as Reflected in Early Buddhist Culture, Art of Central India, Binay Kumar, Dr. Binay Kumar from Department of Ancient History, Culture and Archaeology, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Next paper, myself, Problem of Female Emancipations in Later Pali Text. And the next paper, Reviving Bhikkhuni Sangha as Buddha's Fourth Pillar, by our Venerable Bhikkhuni Santhani from Indonesia. This paper was presented by Venerable Bhikkhuni Santhani in the last international conference. The next paper is by Dr. Arun Kumar Yadav on the topic A Critical Analysis of Theories, Renunciations as brought forth in Theory Gatha. There is a book review by Professor Tasi Chering on the book Taming the Serpent King Nandopanand, Historicity, Transmission and Translation of Pali and Tibetan Discourses, authored by Dr. Animesh Prakash of Central Institute of Higher Tibetan Studies, Sarnath. And the next is the notes, and there is a life history of some of the Venerable Bhikkhunis who participated in the 8th International Conference on Pali and Buddhism last year. So I have included those life history in a very brief manner in the last. And in the last, there is a notes and news on the international webinars organized by our Mahabodhi Society of India, Kolkata. And this has been prepared by Sri Ranadhesh Chaudhary, Secretary to the General Secretary, Mahabodhi Society of India, Kolkata. So this is a very brief manner. And I would like to request our Professor Baidyanath Lab, Chairman of this session, Dr. B.R. Mani, and other distinguished speakers to release this journal.
Should we stand up
Yes.
at our places?
No,
Okay.
no, thanks. Just you have to release, but just you have given your consent. It is a pleasure for our Mahabodhi Society of India, and thank you very much for releasing this journal.
I heartily congratulate you on your continuous endeavors.
So thank you very much. Time is very, you can say we had to stop it by 7:30, but now it is 8:20. It is going to be. So thank you very much, all of you who have spared your valuable time in giving your insights and making this international webinar as a success. So first of all, I am very much thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Baidyanath Lab, for agreeing and sparing his valuable time to guide over this session. So at the inner core of my heart, I express my heartfelt thanks to Professor Baidyanath Lab. We are also thankful to Dr. B.R. Mani, Director General of our National Museum, as well as Vice Chancellor of National Museum, who agreed and who had given very thoughtful insights that how Sarnath, Dhammik Stoop and Dhammarajika Chaitya, they have been unearthed, and what are the peculiarities and special things for unearthing all these inscriptions or the materials which have. So we are very much thankful to Dr. B.R. Mani, and from the General Secretary as well as President Mahabodhi Society of India, we are very much thankful to Dr. B.R. Mani. We are also thankful to other speakers, Dr. Ramesh Prasad, who spoke his thoughtful law of dependent originations, Prakriti Samutpad, and what are the inner strength of this law of dependent originations. So we are very much thankful to Professor Ramesh Prasad. We are very much thankful to our Dr. Revant Bikram Singh, Director, Indian Cultural Center, Colombo, High Commission, Sri Lanka. He is very much energetic as well as he is very much cooperative, and whenever we request him, he agrees to attend our international webinar in each Purnima of our auspicious day of Mahabodhi Society of India. So we sincerely thank Dr. Revant Bikram Singh. We are also thankful to Dr. Surendra Kumar Mahapatra ji, trustee of Mahabodhi Society of India, as well as member and governing body member of Mahabodhi Society of India, who had given wonderful expositions of all the 12 Nidanas, or the cause and effect, he in a very exhaustive manner. So on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India, we are very much thankful to Dr. Surendra Kumar Mahapatra ji. We are also thankful to Professor Mahesh Devkar ji, who has given wonderful expositions of the 3D Dharma Chakra Pravartan held in Varanasi, Saranath, Rajgir, as well as in Dhanikatak, and how these Dharma Chakra Pravartans, they have inner qualities or a strength in expositions of the teachings of the Buddha. So on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India, I express my heartfelt thanks to Professor Mahesh Devkar, Head of the Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Savitribai Phule University, Pune. So we are really thankful to Professor Mahesh Devkar ji. We are also thankful to our archaeologist and museologist, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singh, who had given wonderful expositions of all the expositions of life of the Buddha in Indian art, how they have been made expositions, and how they have been engraved in the stupas, chaityas, and other metal things. So on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India, we are really thankful to Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singh ji. We are also thankful to our Honorable President of Mahabodhi Society of India, Professor Sri N. Dorje ji, who is also Secretary of Mahabodhi Temple Management Committee, Bodh Gaya, and he is our Honorable President of Mahabodhi Society of India. So for sparing his time, giving welcome speech, we are really thankful to Sri N. Dorje ji. We are also thankful to other bhikkhu in charge of Mahabodhi Society of India, Sarnath, as well as Joint Secretary Venerable Medhankar Theroji and Sumitanand Venerable Theroji, for sparing their time to attend and participate in this international webinar. We are also thankful to all the we are also thankful to all our most venerable Bhikkhuni Anthony, who had given wonderful keynote speech in our international webinar. I am really sorry that I could not able to name his in the first. So we are really thankful to our venerable sister Bhikkhuni Santhani from Indonesia, who agreed, although she was having other commitments for her monastery there, but she agreed to give keynote speech, and we are really thankful, and we are expressing our heartfelt thanks to Venerable Sister Bhikkhuni Santhani from Indonesia for giving wonderful keynote speech. We are also thankful to our Venerable Bhikkhuni Bodhichit from Australia. She at the last day joined our international webinar and expressing words of generosity as well as words of merits to all the speakers as well as members of the Mahabodhi Society of India. So from inner core of my heart, as well as from the Mahabodhi Society of India, I am expressing a heartfelt thank to Venerable Sister Bodhi Chittiji. We are also thankful to other members who we are present, the governing body members, as well as life members of Mahabodhi Society of India, and some of the persons who were present there, like Surendra Kumar Misraji, and our Secretary of Mahabodhi Society of India, Secretary to the General Secretary, Sri Ranadhesh Chaudhary ji, who had giving administrative job and writing to all the speakers, participants of this international webinar. He is making correspondence with all the speakers. And we are really thankful to our Sarabjit Rahaji also for giving and preparing web link and giving to all the members. So we are thankful to Sarabjit Rahaji also. And at the last, we are also thankful to all the Upasak, Upasikas, Bhikkhu, Bhikkhunis all over the world who have met their presence in this international webinar, and they have given their valuable time for making this international webinar as a success. So from the Mahabodhi Society of India, we are thankful to all the lovers of Buddhism, all the well-wishers of Mahabodhi Society of India. We are really thankful to all of them. Last but not least, I am really thankful to our Dr. Kiran Lamaji, who is also General Secretary of Daijo Temple, as well as he is life member of Mahabodhi Society of India, for making invocation of this international webinar and conducting all the speakers, as well as from the beginning to end. So from my inner core of my heart, I am expressing heartfelt thanks to Dr. Kiran Lamaji. So thank you all for giving it a success international webinar. We are really thankful to all of you. Thank you very much. Kiran Lamaji, over. Kiran Lamaji. So Kiran Lamaji is not here. May I request our Venerable P. Sivali Thero for giving words of blessings in the end and making it close of this international webinar. Venerable P. Sivali Thero.
So we bless to all the monks and bhikshunis. We request. I have some video problem here, network. So I'm just chanting for good health of all our respected speakers, bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, and all the participants. May you be all well and happy. May you be in good health, peace and happiness. I request you all, please join with us in this chanting of blessings. Sabbitiyo vivajjantu sabbarogo vinasatu mate bhavatvantarayo sukhi digayuko bhava bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkhantu sabba devata Sabba Sanghanubhavena Sada Sukhhi Bhavantu Sadhu Sadhu. Thank you very much. Namo Buddhaya to all.
So thank you to you all, and I declare this webinar as a closed. Thank you all. Good night. Take care.